Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is CHH here. I am very thrilled today to be able to talk to the world-renowned and famous Tony from Hacked Up Movies. Tony, man, what's going on?
All right, I got a problem with your introduction. It's famous and important, Tony from Hack the Movies. I'm working on rich and famous. I haven't gotten quite there yet, but it's famous and important. And just wanna make sure I just want to let you know you've insulted me, but I'll ignore it. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Tony, man, I want to say I'm
Yeah.
a really big fan, and there's so many cool questions I have for you.
Yeah.
And there's only so much we can get to in an hour and some changes time. But like,
Mhm.
I've never had the chance to formally talk to you before, so like,
Yeah.
I gotta know obviously you're into movies, you're into wrestling. What was it for young Tony? Like, what was it that really captivated you as a kid? Was it
It
horror,
was
action?
yeah, it would have been like sci-fi, action, or horror, or a blend of two or the three of them. I was real into movies as a kid. I talked about it in my Alien episode. Alien was like the first time I asked myself, like, how did they make movies? But yeah, movies were had been the one constant in my life where I've just been like really into them. I want to know everything about them. Now that I'm older, I'm realizing like, well, a lot of these movies kind of suck and they were made for cynical purposes. But even that interests me. I'm like, oh, okay, let's see, why did Disney make this piece of shit? It's like, oh, because they had to play in this part. So I'm still fascinated with movies and filmmaking. I've made a couple shorts. I'm planning to make new stuff coming out
Yeah.
in the near future, hopefully, knock on wood. I don't want to promise that a movie's coming out and then it doesn't come out. I'll look like an asshole. But I do have stuff in development. But yeah, movies were a big thing. But like you said, I also was like super into wrestling and stuff as a kid. So whatever a young boy could be into outside of sports, I was into it.
That sounds like a lot of us on the internet nowadays, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Tony, I tell you, man, this is already like I'm already going off the rails on this, but
Okay.
when I found out you were a wrestling fan, that was the coolest thing because I'll never forget. I get the notification for the Cinemassacre video, and it's you showing Mike Matei.
William Shatner with Jerry the King Lawler.
How did that come to be? Like, did you?
Well, I think rental reviews had just like ended, I think, or it was around that time. So we were just thinking of like videos to do, and I'm like, oh, it'd be fun to do WrestleMania, where I just show you a wrestling thing. We only ever did the first episode. Actually, no, that's not true. We did a second episode. It's on my Patreon. I showed him the Undertaker, Mankind, Hell in the Cell. But yeah, I guess the fans weren't like the fans who watched that video, like you, loved it.
Loved it.
But I'm guessing an overwhelming amount of the Cinemassacre fans were just not interested in me and Mike Matei talking about William Shatner wrestling.
It's
Yeah,
a
I
classic
got
video.
back into wrestling in like 2019. Like I always liked wrestling. I just stopped following it around like 2005, 2006. So I jumped back into it in 2019. And what a weird time to jump back into wrestling.
Yeah.
You've got WWE with like major competition finally. You had the whole like lockdown forcing everyone to go like in empty stadiums. So it was a very interesting time to jump back in. And of course with now it's Peacock, but the WWE network, I was able to like go back and like revisit like classic matches and like explore all those things again. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Tony, I'm looking behind you. I'm seeing some lovely shelves full of movies. You got to be a pretty big physical media guy, right?
Yes, I'm actually jealous of your room. This is a work in progress. I just moved in here. Um, I mean, I'm totally in the video store. This is the corner of the video store you never see. But yeah, I moved these in here. Tons of physical media. I was actually at a point where I was like, you know what? I'm done with physical media. Everything streams now. I got way too many goddamn DVDs. But a lot of times, nothing's ever streaming all at once, especially if it's like a franchise. Like, I want to watch all the Friday the 13th. It's like, well, they're only streaming 3, 4, and 5 on this app, and Jason Goes to Hell on another app. It's like, all right, well, I just need to get all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially like with TV shows, I've been getting TV shows that I assume will be censored in the future. Like I bought like the first 10 seasons of The Simpsons. When I
Right.
found out Disney Plus was taking episodes down, I was like, uh-oh, nope. Let me go buy those. They just put Married with Children out on DVD a while back.
I got that.
All the entire collection,
Yeah.
with the actual theme song, because previous DVD releases did not have the official theme
Right.
song. So I got that because I was like, God damn it, like some 23-year-old girl is gonna watch an episode and then write a blog and they'll start taking it off Hulu. And I'm like, I can't, I
Oh,
need to just buy it. I have a running gag. I have all the Seinfelds there. My editor is like 24, I think. And whenever I talk about Seinfeld, I'm like, just a reminder, make sure you never watch Seinfeld. Don't tell any of your friends to watch Seinfeld. Because now
oh
that it's on
man.
Netflix, they're gonna look for reasons. And of course, week one of Netflix, I think, there was an article about how like the character of Jerry Seinfeld is like a really bad person and he does like bad things in the show. And it's like, yeah, that's the point.
Point
Like
of it.
that's his character. He's an asshole. Like they're all at the show literally ends with them being thrown into prison because they're awful people.
Right. Oh man.
But then you have people writing, and it's like, oh man, he was really mean to these people. It's like, yeah, that's the show is aware of that.
Mhm. Tony, you said it in kind of a joking manner, but I think you're probably right about that. You really think that a lot of our entertainment movies that we love, even
Yeah,
movies like, for God's sakes, like Bill and Ted, for instance, you
yeah.
think that they're at risk of either getting heavily edited, and this is why you like to own these movies, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've seen it in the past on cable and network television. They would edit stuff all the time, and we've kind of accepted it there because they have ads playing. It's free, so it's playing in people's living rooms. Someone family is around, but like with the streaming services, like it's kind of like this unspoken thing where it's like, yes, I'm here to see the full thing of the movie untouched. I'm an adult. I want to watch this. And then they're like, it's kind of like mean of the entertainment companies to be like, nah, you're not allowed to watch this version of the movie because we don't like it. It's like,
Mm,
well, I mean, come on. And so, yeah, 100% they're going to go and start censoring and pulling episodes. They've done it since the beginning of it's not new. It's just it's finally coming to streaming now. So get ready for that. That's going to be a lot of
mhm.
fun.
Tony, are you into any of the? I'm a big horror guy. Are you?
Yeah.
And I know you are too. Are you into the? I've heard you mention it kind of in certain episodes, the Scream Factories, Arrow videos. Are you pretty into those labels and that
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean, I
thing?
don't have a lot. I have gotten into them though, because I've seen like they release some like really good obscure stuff like in Blu-ray, and I've been lucky enough to be a commentary track on some releases, not Arrow Video, but like I think MVD releasing and then recently Retro releasing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that there's now these companies that'll take these movies that would have otherwise been ignored and just give them brilliant remasters. A fan sent me from Vinegar Syndrome, New York Ninja. I didn't even know what that was. And now, like everyone knows what it is, and I'm like, this is amazing. And I love that there's companies out there that will just take an unfinished movie with no script and just guess what it's about and edit it together.
Mm,
But yeah, I
yep.
think my favorite one, my friend Joe from Movie Dumpster gave it to me was the Vinegar Syndrome release of Tammy and the T-Rex because it finally came with the gore cut.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I need to see that gore cut. Like, I really need to see that. But yeah, I've been more interested into buying those like special edition DVDs. I've been getting into buying like the franchises that are whittled down into like one pack. Just so I can still have physical media, but cut down on a lot of space.
Right.
But yeah, I really like those releases. I'm excited to see more of them. I have the Scream Factory 4K release of Halloween's 1 through 5. And I mean, most of those movies suck, but they look really
Yeah, how
nice.
about that, huh?
Yeah, they look
Yeah.
so I'm like, oh man, Halloween 5 is like unwatchable, but god damn, it's crystal clear on my
It
TV.
is. Yeah. I was shocked at how good those looked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tony, this is where I'd like to go with this
Mhm.
interview. So let me set up probably the first time I personally remember seeing you on a video. And I would
Okay.
love for you to be able to help bridge this gap on how you got to this part.
Okay.
So like a lot of guys like my
Yeah.
age and things like that, I grew up watching James and Cinemassacre,
Yeah.
and I'll never forget he did this video called, I think it was How to Fix Halloween 6, How to Edit, something like that. And then I see you, and I'm listening to this guy, and you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people that watch James's videos and they're always like, who the hell are these people?
Oh
But I'm
yeah,
listening
I still get yelled at by them, but keep going.
you know, but I'm not one of those people. I could tell. I was like, I like this guy. This guy's clearly a horror fan. And I was like,
Mm,
that was the first time I remember seeing Tony.
yeah.
Can you tell me how I don't know your story, and I would
Yeah,
like to
yeah.
know the story.
So at that point, give me a sec. Let me just see when that came out, just so I get the timeline right.
Sure.
How to fix. Just want to make sure I get it right. Okay. So at that point, I've been working behind the scenes on Cinemassacre for like 2 years, 2 or 3 around that time. I started in 2016. That episode came out in 2018. So yeah, I was just doing behind the scenes stuff. I was editing James and Mike Mondays and the old version of Talk About Games. And you know, as you do when you work with people, you eventually become friends with them. And me and James, we would talk at parties and stuff about like the Halloween movies. And of course, Halloween 2018 was on its way, so he was coming up with ideas for Halloween videos to kind of tie into that. But yeah, we were talking about Halloween 6, and he thought it was funny that I was like, yeah, when I was like an edgy teen, that was my favorite Halloween movie because I thought it was so cool. But now I'm like older, and I'm like, this sucks. Why did I like this so much? But yeah, we thought like he wanted to do this video, but he didn't want to do it alone for whatever reason. So he asked me if I would do it with him, and I was like, yeah, 100%, I'll talk about this. Yeah, the fans actually really like that one. Then eventually down the line, we did 2 of those videos, and then down the line we started doing movie reviews. It wasn't like a show or anything yet. We just did movie reviews with James. We did like Rampage, Ready Player One, and Solo: A Star Wars Story. Just, you know, the holy trinity of cinema right there. And then and then what happened was a year later, like 2019, or later 2018, right? Yeah, somewhere around that time. I forget exactly. My mind's going.
Right.
Um, Justin at one point we were at a 4th of July party at James's, and Justin and Kieran were in the film room. I was somewhere else, and they kind of like talked about like, hey, it would be cool to film a show down here. And eventually it got greenlit, and then we did it. So that's what happened there. Yeah.
So let me stop you right there, Tony, because I
Yeah.
want to know: are you, obviously you talk about your editing videos and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Now, Tony, this is my perception of you. Now,
Yeah.
tell me if I'm wrong. You seem like you're like a blue collar guy to me. You don't strike me as the college guy, and you just learn how to do this kind of stuff. And I mean that in a very, and not
Yeah.
an like I feel like I relate to you. You're the guy
Yeah.
I relate to, and I watch the videos, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a college guy, and so I don't know why you don't strike me as like but did you go to school for that kind of stuff? Or?
Yes, I did go to college, and I hated every minute of it. Other than making connections with other film people.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did go to college, but like when I was going to college, they were teaching you how to edit everything on Final Cut Pro. And then
Mhm.
you get out of college, you enter the workforce, and it's like, yeah, we edit on Premiere. It's like, cool. And it's like, oh, by the way, all the technology's different, so everything you learned is out of date already. All right. It's
Oh
like,
my
great.
god.
Glad I spent a lot of money on that. But yeah, I guess I was never like the super like what you think a pretentious film person is, even though I do like pretentious art stuff. But yeah, I did go to school. I did go to school for editing and whatnot. I did learn about a lot of this stuff. I made some good connections with people. I'm still friends with a lot of people from college who went on themselves to become editors and whatnot. So yeah, I'm glad I think it's the first time anyone said I come off as a blue collar guy. I'm
You
like, oh
just
wow.
I mean that as I seriously mean that as a compliment. You just
Yeah.
seem like you're approachable, and you
Yes,
just
I
like
was. Me and a couple of my friends, we were very down to earth in college, like especially my senior thesis class. There were some people just who were like,
turtleneck kind of.
yeah, just not maybe not turtleneck, but like what they thought they were making was better than they thought it was better than it actually was. And then I got mocked for my senior thesis film, which you can find online if you dig enough. But the ironic thing was at the end of the senior thesis, I was like one of 3 people who actually finished their movie. Like, everyone submitted their final films, and like I want to say like 80% of them were all unfinished.
Oh my
Like, they
god.
still had like scenes missing and audio wasn't done. I'm like, well, say we will about my stupid fucking comedy. At least it got
At least it's
done.
done.
And that's been my motto ever since. I'm like, look, I might not be the best, but I
But
get
I'll
things done on time.
right. So Tony, let me ask you, going into is it just blanket film school that you go into? Or do you
Uh, I mean, yeah, you enter. Well, I'm like, don't ask me that. I went to 3 different colleges. I went to Penn State Abington. Took your like basic classes, like your gen ed classes or whatever. Then I went to Bucks County Community College, and that's when I entered into their film department.
Mhm.
And then, of course, I tried to graduate from Temple, and I was at Temple for a few years. And I'm just really bad at math, so I just never got my degree.
Right. Well, I
That's
guess
it.
this is
People are like, "Oh, you never finished film school." I'm like, "Oh, I finished all the film stuff. It was everything
I
else I was really bad at because I was so focused. I would seriously skip classes, but not to party or anything. It was to go to the film lab and just edit a bunch of stuff.
this was my question, Tony. Not
Yeah.
necessarily like I wanted to know, like, going into that area for school, like what was the goal before, like, was what you're doing now what you foresaw yourself doing, or
No,
not
not
really?
at all. Not at
That's
all.
my question.
I always liked movie reviewers like, Siskel and Ebert and whatnot when they would show up on TV. And I always loved watching like behind the scenes stuff of people talking about movies and like how movies get made. I know Stan Winston had a show called like Cinema Secrets, I think, that would play on like Friday nights, and I was a big Stan Winston fan because I found out who he was through the behind the scenes for Jurassic Park and Terminator. So yeah, when I was in college, I started seeing that there were these people just reviewing movies and like making shows out of it. I'm like, shit, I could do that. And then I didn't find an audience for 12 years, but I was doing it.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I didn't expect to be here. I expected to be doing other stuff, but I'm kind of glad I ended up where I did. I did work in TV very briefly, and that was a lot of fun, but I made the mistake. I could still be in TV if I did this. They afterwards they
Uh-oh.
were like, "Hey, we really love the editing and stuff you did for the behind the scenes vlogs for the show. Do you know how to edit in Avid?" And then I said, "No, but I'm pretty sure I could figure it out." And then I never heard from them again. I should have said, "Yes, I love
I
Avid. I know everything about it."
Oh
Because a
my
lot
god.
of things, if you're looking to get into editing and stuff, there's just so many YouTube tutorials you can learn from right now. Like any program that's out there you can get, and you can just look up just hours of tutorials and learn how to do it yourself. I don't even really think you need film school or anything these days. No one's ever asked me for a degree, like proof of a degree, like ever.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's my advice to you. Just lie.
Lie your way through life, right? So
Yeah,
are you
yeah,
telling
just
me, Tony, are you telling me that is there not an industry standard for editing software, or is it
I mean, I think with like films and TV, it's Avid. A lot of what we do is Adobe Premiere, but I mean, especially after like lockdown with people going remote, I think it's just whatever at this point. As long as you and the other pool of editors are all in the same program, I think it could just be whatever. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think Avid was the big one, but me and most of the people I know all use Premiere Pro. So yeah.
So getting back to what I'm gonna try to make a linear interview. So we talked about you now, Tony, was that your first time you were ever on Cinemassacre, the Halloween episode, or
I made little appearances here and there. That was the first time where I was like the subject of something. Actually, no, I think before this, I was the voice of Charlie in the AVGN for Charlie's Angels. I think
okay,
that was
yeah.
around that time. So I was working behind the scenes. You'll see me here and there in some videos if you look hard enough.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was the first time where like I was like, "Hey, this is a person. His name is Tony. He's gonna talk." I did do live streams with Mike Matei a lot though,
Right.
uh, on the
Yeah.
other channels and on Mike stuff. So that I mean, you weren't if you're like the person who only watches like AVGN and occasionally you give the other stuff a shot, like you didn't know who I was.
Mhm.
But yeah, those 2 Halloween videos were like when I first like did something big on Cinemassacre. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And getting into being in front of the camera on that channel, I mean, was that something did you have any intention of that becoming a thing, or was it just like, "Hey, man, can you do the video with me?" And you're like, "Okay, I guess I'm gonna be
I
on
mean, I would
Cinemassacre
never
now."
turn it down. I like being on camera, which is funny because that's never what I wanted to do. And of course, I had my own channel, which is why I'm wearing my shirt with it, which the internet still makes fun of me for. They're like, all he ever does is plug his own channel. And it's like, yeah. And then when the show got canceled, people came over to my channel because I plugged it so much. Like,
That's right.
this is how this works, you idiots. Like, do you think celebrities are going on the Tonight Show just for fun? It's like, no, they're plugging something else.
Like in a movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely wanted to be on the channel. I didn't want to force myself. Like if they asked me to be in it, I would be in it. And of course they
Right.
started asking me to be in it, and then I became a regular. So I'm glad that I was on there. I'm not on there now, but I loved everything I did on there. I had a lot of fun there. So
Mhm.
yeah. But I never really set out for that, but I definitely was never gonna turn it down.
Sure. So I want to talk now. You mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
Tony, that you had a conversation with Krusty Justy
Yeah.
about doing a video store
Well,
style.
they did. I was at that party, but I was upstairs dealing with something else. They had the conversation
Okay.
at the party, but then we were pulled into a meeting later on with all of us, and yeah, then we came up with that.
Yes. I always wondered because from my perspective, I always felt like that would have been something you would have came up with, like the rental review type thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I want to say this is when you became a star to me, and I just want to know a little bit if there's any kind of behind the scenes things you can say. I became a fan of the rental reviews big time, and it was the episode. You'll probably know exactly where I'm going with this. The episode about underrated action films.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Um, I literally I'm not just saying this. I'm watching this. I'm texting my brother because my brother's a big fan too, and I would text
Yeah.
him like, "You have got to see this episode." Like the Tony guy, he just completely obliterates his Kieran in
Yeah.
this. You won't believe it. Tell me, was because it seemed so legitimately real. I mean, tell me
Oh,
the
it was.
backstory about that.
It was. So we came up with the underrated action movies. And Kieran brought up Speed. I'm like, dude, I don't think that's underrated.
It's one of the biggest movies of the
Yeah.
90s.
And his argument was like, when you think of like biggest action movies from the 90s, you always pick something else. I'm like, okay, maybe, but I don't think that means it's underrated. Like, I think Speed is appropriately rated. So I don't even remember. I think Justin picked that movie Wasabi.
Wasabi,
James picked, what did James? Oh, he picked a Jackie Chan
Jackie
movie.
Chan.
So yeah, Kieran did Speed, and I was going to do the rundown, which is the slipcase I brought in. I had fully intended to do the rundown, and then the night before, I grabbed the slipcase, and then I saw my copy of Speed 2, and Kieran has mentioned Kieran never fully watched the movie. He had only seen bits and pieces. He has since watched the movie, and he's like, "Holy shit, that was worse than I could have imagined." But yeah, so I'm looking at my copy of Speed 2, and I'm like, "Yeah, I need to. Yeah, this is the one."
Now,
So
hold on,
yeah,
Tony. Tony, did you know? Is there a conversation? Do you have to vet your choices
no,
with everybody? It's just so
no,
you.
for these, we didn't have to. We were just bringing in what we thought.
So did you? So was the initial intention to be like, we're gonna talk about the rundown? No, we're talking about. Was that the initial intention? And then him picking Speed was like, I can't believe this is happening.
No, yeah. So he picked Speed first. He told us what he was going to pick. Because when we were coming up with the idea, we are like, all right, we got to pick a movie. He's like, oh, I'm definitely doing Speed. So I like I said, I stood in front of these shelves and I'm just like, what am I picking? And I'm looking at the rundown. I'm like, yeah, that is pretty underrated. Like, it's a good movie. I remember people liking it, but I think a lot of people frown upon it now based off like some of the dumber stuff The Rock did later on.
Hmm.
But yeah, then I just took a glimpse at Speed 2, and I'm like, how fucking funny would it be if I just surprise everyone with Speed 2? That's why I insisted I go last and everything.
Right. I think
I'm
you
like,
showed
yeah,
that clip in the
I'm
video
like, I want
too.
to go last. I want to go last, guy.
Oh, that was the
Yeah.
funniest thing I'd
Yeah,
ever
people
seen.
really like James emailed me like the next day. He's like, Tony, that was like fucking hilarious. People thought that was really funny. And I'm like, yeah, sure.
Oh man.
Uh,
So when the camera stops rolling, is Kieran just like, how dare, like, his he was
no, he thought it
speechless.
was funny. He thought it was funny.
He was
Yeah.
speechless. I just thought that was one of the funniest episodes,
Yeah.
man. But the rental reviews thing was really cool, and I was
Mhm.
so glad when I saw what ended up happening, because obviously when COVID and all that
Yeah.
started ramping up, you guys like, well, shit. I mean, what are we supposed to? I know you guys are putting those old '90s, what was it? This computer screens on the desk.
Oh yeah. 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 God, that was a rough time. That was,
Yeah.
dude, like my job got so much harder when we started doing
I,
that.
I would love to know about that too, because obviously you're
Well,
editing a lot of these videos, and
yeah, so I'm editing. So like James has to shoot on his end and then send us the footage. We're filming on our end, but this is like during the height of lockdown. So then I have to take all the footage and bring it home with me and then edit it at home. And then I have to render it and whatnot. But then like the files are big. So then I got to go back to the office and make sure I'm the only one there to drop. It was really, really rough.
yeah.
I mean, we did it. We did it for as long as we could, and then eventually they pulled the plug on it. But yeah, it got very difficult. It was a fun challenge. I was glad we figured it out, but yeah.
Tony, you talk about editing videos and working
Mm.
behind the scenes. A lot of us fans, we just see a final product.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what your average day to day was like? I mean, how often are you how many hours are you putting in behind the scenes getting this together, editing this, filming
Oh, a
the
lot. Yeah, especially back then. I mostly edited rental reviews. Occasionally me and Kieran would switch if there was an AVGN that I was helping develop. But that was rare. I only did like a handful or so of those. So I mostly edited rental reviews. Basically, we would film, or we would go in studio eventually. We would film a batch of like 4 or 5 episodes. I would have to make sure we had copies of all the episodes, and if it was a tape, we have a station where we transfer tapes, which I still use now for the new show. So I had to make sure all the tapes were done. I had to sync all the footage. Um, yeah, I would pretty much work every day just editing. And there was a point where I was doing rental reviews and James and Mike Mondays in the same week, and that was a little rough. Eventually, someone else got assigned to James and Mike Monday, but I was just like, all right, I think I can handle it. And like a few months in, I'm like, oh god, my brain is breaking. um,
Mm.
but yeah, rental reviews, it would take a few days to edit one episode of that. Uh, Barring like if there was an ad that needed to be inserted into it, or if there was an issue with like the film copy we had or something. I want to say 2 or 3 days were mostly what we needed for rental reviews.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, how, because when we see this final product, we're seeing these different angles and stuff. How many cameras and stuff are you guys working with? And
We
even with
s-
Hack the Movies, is it the
uh,
same thing? You've got all these cameras and these nice
yes,
angles.
we do 3 cameras. Rental reviews wasn't always 3 cameras, but eventually became 3 cameras. Same with my show. We do 3 camera setups. Adobe Premiere has a great like syncing plugin they have there. So it just syncs all the audio for you. Yeah, we also have an audio recorder to record us. Took us a while to figure out the audio. I wish we could have figured out a little bit better for rental reviews, but we've since figured it out for my show and for the podcasts. We kind of have that a little bit better. But yeah, 3 cameras, one audio recorder, however many mics are needed for however many guests. We have like 3 big lights in the studio now. We're working on getting a new studio, like a new building, but that's still in
Hmm.
development. But yeah, 3 camera setup. I like 3 camera setups. I really like editing those. And now all the podcasts that we do on our network are all 3 camera setups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's talk real quick about what I think is one of the coolest things that Cinemassacre and including you have been a part of was the obviously it was heavily inspired from the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, that
Oh
episode.
yeah.
How does this whole thing come to fruition?
That was James's baby through and through. He really likes that movie. I like that movie. It's a fun movie. He really likes that movie. He'd been planning it for a while. He went to Vegas like before lockdown and got a couple shots of it. But yeah, he planned all of that. He storyboarded it. He had it all set up. So then I had to come because he wanted me to play Dr. Gonzo. So I came, and it's funny, he had already filmed his scenes. So we had to stand again. This is like really like the height of like COVID and whatnot. So we had to stand apart from each other in the studio at his place. And I had to just basically like act with him while he wasn't there, even though he was in the room.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he just sent me the script, and I'm like, yeah, dude, I'll be there. I'll watch the movie again because I hadn't seen it since college. But yeah, if you want to know the development and everything of it, that was all James. That wasn't me. He just sent me the script and said, hey, you know this character, and I was like, yeah, I can do it. That's all I got there.
And so I imagine, because there were so many wacky edits and funny
Yeah.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, like how many hours was poured
That,
into that thing
you know,
from
I don't
conception to
know
end?
because at that point I had like shifted to working on my channel, so I don't know how much. I know it was a beast to edit. But James had edited some of himself. Kieran had edited, and then like I know we had like a special effects person like editing it. So I personally couldn't tell you how much how many hours went into it, but it was definitely more than a normal episode would have had.
Mm.
Yeah.
And before we start moving to Hack the Movies, because
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about that. I'd be remiss not to mention my second favorite Tony appearance ever on the channel.
Oh
Uh,
God. Is it yeah, never mind, go. I have an idea of what it is.
as the classic Aladdin. I gotta know. My brother will kill me if I don't ask about this. How many takes does it take for you to not burst out laughing while pretending to take a shit on top of a toilet?
Oh, I never laughed once. I never broke once with that. I've done so many worse things. Like it was whatever.
Was that what you were expecting me to bring up, or were you having another thing
Yes,
in
as
mind?
soon as I was just like, well, what's the one thing everyone knows me from Cinemassacre? No, it's Aladdin afterwards.
It's a whole new world out there.
Yeah. And like it's so funny. The people who like hate us and think we inserted ourselves and everything, they like get mad at me for that. I'm like, that was James wrote that. Like he just asked me to do it. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll
Yeah.
be Aladdin. And like they get so mad at me for that thing. I'm like, but I just did what I was told. They said pretend to shit, run away. I'm like, okay, sure. I
Those
literally,
people, yeah.
yeah. So I wasn't too involved with the behind the scenes on that one. Because again, I think this is like rental reviews. I'm editing rental reviews like week to week. So I literally like drove up there, dressed up as Aladdin, shot those two scenes, and then just left. And I'm like, gee, I wonder what the rest of the episode looks like.
Now, Tony,
Yeah.
is this costume handed to you? Is it?
Yeah,
I gotta know, because it wasn't
yeah.
tailor made for Tony, was it?
No, it was not made for me. It should have been a couple sizes up. That was
No, it
before
was
I went.
perfect. That's what made it even funnier. It's so tight.
Yes, that was not made specifically for me. That's just a generic outfit you get. My Jafar outfit fits fine though,
Oh
but
yeah.
I don't have. I did get use out of that costume though, because then I did a video where like I'm auditioning to be an Aladdin and I wore the Aladdin outfit. But yeah, they just like, here's your costume. Go up there, film it. I'm like, okay, gotta go back now. How was your day at work? Well, I pretend to shit in the top part of a toilet while dressed as Aladdin, and then I scuttled off. I'm like, oh, cool. It's great.
Dude, it's hysterical. I mean, it's one of the funniest things from the AVG. I love it so much.
My favorite thing about it, what stemmed from that though, was I made fun of it in the video of mine. Not to get into politics, but when the Justin Trudeau pictures came out of him as Aladdin, but in blackface. I made fun of him in a video because I reviewed a movie where Armando Sante was playing a Native American. And I'm like, look, I can't really poke fingers. You know, an Italian guy pretended to be Native American. I'm an Italian guy who pretended to be Aladdin. So I can't really like throw stones. Then I was like, by the way, when I played Aladdin, at no point did I consider doing blackface. I cut to like a picture of Justin Trudeau. Like, didn't even occur to me to do that. It never crossed my mind.
Oh my god. Oh,
but I literally I had so much fun when that came out. I'm like, wow, I never did that. And I also played Aladdin.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely hysterical. So I would love to know. First of all, when I've gone to your channel before, curiosity, like a lot of people have. They click,
Yeah.
videos and go to oldest first. That channel's been around for a number of
Oh,
years.
the YouTube version of the channel has been around since 2014. I was doing Hack the Movie stuff since 2010. It literally started with me and a couple friends. We had a friend who worked at a movie theater. He would let us see movies early, and we would literally just see the movie and then set up a camera and review it in the parking lot. That's like how it kind of got started.
Hmm.
And it's had like I was doing straight up movie reviews, but they really never gained traction. And then like the YouTube channel evolved a lot. I was doing character stuff. I was doing a lot of clickbaity troll stuff, which I actually kind of miss doing. Like I would do like trailer reaction, but then like it would never be a real trailer. Yeah, it'd be like there would always be like a twist or a gimmick. That's how some of my characters like Joker fan came about. Um, one thing I missed doing was the fake trailer breakdowns where it's like things you missed in the Transformers trailer, and I would just purposely get everything wrong. And like like the people in the comments never got the joke. And they're like, wait, what? That's not what that is. I'm like, I don't know, you think you're wrong.
Oh my god.
But yeah, then when we built the set, I was like, because people don't realize I was reviewing on that set the entire time we had it. But it wasn't until like after rental reviews that people like actually came over to the channel. Because I guess they missed that look, that aesthetic. Or maybe they just liked me. Who knows? I don't know. um, but yeah, so the channel's been around for around 12 years, going on 13. Had a lot of ups and downs, mostly downs. Lately, a lot of ups. There was one down. But yeah, everything's going pretty well on the channel. I'm really happy with it, especially lately since I want to say like since January, the show is like kind of how I always wanted it to be. And I really like our rotating lineup. We have some new now with like, COVID restrictions and everything calming down. I'm able to get like people that I've wanted on the show since the beginning and wasn't able to get it. I finally have like new rotating people. It's actually really nice.
So let me ask you, Tony. You talked about after rental reviews is when
Yeah.
things like was the Hack the Movies that we know and love now, was that born from that show kind of taking a back seat and just
Yes, this
moving?
this new like podcast style format. So I done a video called Mortal Kombat Makes No Sense. It was a video essay while rental reviews was still going on, and it did really, really, really well. So once rental reviews was done, I did a review of The Relic, and it literally like a few days after rental reviews ended, I did this review, and the video starts with me being like, "Hi, Tony from Act Movies here, and the show that I was on for 3 years just got canceled," and then I go right into the review.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah, and then I did a couple solo reviews, and people were really starting to like them, and then I'm like, I had always wanted to test out the rental review, like for which isn't even the rental review formula, just the formula of reviewing stuff with friends, which I had done in the past, but on this set in a way that was like familiar to the fans who knew me. And I tried it out. We tried it with a few people and it was doing really, really well. And then it just really took off in January of last year or February, I think. It just shot up and people really, really took to the show. They really like it. I'm up to 45,000 subscribers now.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's been going mostly well.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, I've become a really big fan. I love the show. I mean, every bit as much as I loved
Yeah,
rental reviews. Quite frankly, it's a staple now.
yeah.
Do you have some kind of formula for movie choices, or are you just like the head honcho and whatever the hell you feel like
um
reviewing is what you
um
review?
yeah, we kind of relaxed on it a little bit, but there was a strict system for a bit for movies that we would pick. We learned it wasn't super foolproof. It was a good system. But I don't want to answer that yet because a big review is coming out this year where I actually will explain that.
Hmm.
And I kind of want to save that for that. But yes, there was a
Sure,
system in
absolutely.
place. We had like a sort of ranking system. We still use it. That's why a lot of like crazier, obscure movies I put on Patreon because, like, let's face it,
Nobody's gonna watch the random weirdo
Yeah,
movies.
no one's gonna want to watch Meatloaf in To Catch a Yeti. First off, I think like other channels have already covered it, but my audience, they're gonna be like, what the hell is this? No. So I put that stuff on Patreon. Which I actually love. The Patreon's a lot of fun. I put a lot of like bonus movie reviews there, commentary tracks. I put behind the scenes stuff on there. But yeah, so there is a system that we use. It's a little bit more relaxed now because we kind of have an idea of what our audience is into.
Mm-hmm.
We try to experiment once in a while, because we want to try and find new people also.
Sure.
But yeah, that's all I can tell you right now, that there is a system and it will be explained in a future episode.
Okay. Yeah, totally fine. So this is when I realized that this show, there was nothing like this could never happen on the Cinemassacre channel. So
there's a lot of things that couldn't happen on that show.
And I want to talk. So this is when I literally, I know this is again the same instance. I have to I send this video to my brother and I was like, Trey, you will not believe how insane Mike Matei is. You have got to see him. So Tony, I'd like to give you my perception of what I think happened, and you can fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
So so I see the thumbnail for Ninja Turtles, which I love. Who doesn't, right?
Yeah, it's great.
And Mike Matei's in there. Now, again, I love Mike, that snarky, smartass Mike Matei that
I
see
love
on videos a lot.
Yeah, I love it.
My perception of the episode is you holler at Mike, hey dude, come on the channel. I want to have you on. And you don't tell him you're talking about Ninja Turtles because he seems so like, what the F are we doing here? What's the story about
No. He knew we were doing Ninja Turtles. I think he had seen the show and seen how like kind of crazy it gets. We've kind of balanced the crazy now. It was definitely a little bit too crazy at some points. But yeah, I think he saw like what it kind of was like. And basically he was like, he's like, I've talked about the Turtles so many goddamn times, like legitimately. So he just went in with it with like this, I'm just gonna fuck around. Who cares?
Cynicism. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, that worked for this channel. That works. That's really funny. And like, and I like it. Like people thought like we were like fighting or something. Like he was really mean to you. It's like, yeah. And I'm like, so? And they're like, you shouldn't treat like that. It's like, it's a show. It's fine.
Right. Oh. I thought it was literally one of the funniest
was so
things.
funny in that. Like it cracked me up so bad how good he was.
When he starts picking up random movies behind, it's like, let's talk about this.
And I'm like, hey, can I see that? And I throw it so we can get through the episode.
Oh, when you look at him and he was like, let's talk about this Easter. I don't want to talk about it. That's right, Mike. We're talking about the 1990 Ninja Turtles. I just thought, I mean, you own that episode. I was so hysterical.
I love when I try to get him to do the famous quote. I'm like, and then they say that famous quote, and it was supposed to be like, never pay full price for pizza. And he goes, I don't know, Cowabunga, what? And I'm like, God damn it.
Oh man. I mean, can we ever expect one Mike Matei to ever pass by the?
Yeah, he was on another episode. We did Star Trek 6.
That's right. He was. He was.
Yeah.
On
No, I would love to have him on again. I see him a lot. He comes to the studio to film his show with Ryan. Talk about games.
I love the show. Good show.
Yeah. We just haven't been able to like sync our personal schedules together. But yeah, I would definitely have him on again. I want to have Erin on again too. She was pretty good.
Erin plays.
The Josie and the Pussycats review, which didn't do super well, but like I didn't know how funny that movie was.
Yeah.
I didn't know that movie was like a really clever satire until we went to review it. I'm like, holy shit, this movie's great.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think you talked about your cast and your rotation. I think you've got a good group of people. I love Crystal on the show. You're able to really just poke fun at Crystal a lot. I think it's great. Yeah. She got a great sense of humor.
It's funny because like the comment section, there's always people sipping for her. So I'm like the one guy who will just say the opposite of everything.
Exactly.
Like when in today's episode, she was talking about naked C3PO in her little cameo. And I'm like, Crystal's always talking about naked stuff. I'm like, put some more clothes on. Or no, what was it? The last Action Hero episode. Arnold's like, the kid's like, there's so many beautiful women here. And he's like, this is California. I'm like, Oh man, Chris, I would love to be surrounded by beautiful women. I wonder what that feels like.
Yeah. Oh man. Hey, yeah, actually, it's not really a question or anything. I just wanted to just say thank you. Last Action Hero is far and away my
Yeah.
favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger film, and
Really?
it's not even close.
Wow.
It's to me, it's one of the funniest,
Yeah.
most ambitious movies I've ever seen, and Arnold is
Yeah.
hysterical. I just wanted to say thanks because I didn't expect you to recover that. It's your own show, but like when Rental Reviews did it, I was upset that like it didn't go on further. So when I saw that you were like, I think you even
Yeah.
made mention like, you know what, screw this. I'm not done. I've got to talk more about
Yeah,
was
well,
that
I wasn't. Well, yeah, we do two things now. We do rental redos, and actually, I haven't done it in a bit. I should put a new poll up. Rental redos is an episode of Rental Reviews that I was on that the fans want me to recover.
Mhm.
That I think I could have talked about longer, and I think the first one we did was Fifth Element. Because James wasn't super into the movie. We only talked about it for like 20 minutes. Johanna had a cameo in that episode, but she wasn't on the panel. I'm like, I'd really like to just do this again with just me and Johanna.
Mhm.
And that episode did super well. We did that was a really good idea, and the fans voted on it. So I'll pick like a list of episodes, like, hey, which one of these do you want me to redo? And they voted Fifth Element, and then I do Rental Renews, where it's an episode of It's a movie from an episode that I wasn't on. So we did a list, and I think I made an Arnold theme. So I did like Commando, Predator, Last Action Hero, and Last Action Hero just won by a lot. It's just like
good taste from the
I
people,
guess
man.
I'm like, I guess people really wanted me in that episode.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's been a lot of fun. We didn't do a poll for this one, but we just straight up just did Scott Pilgrim because people have been upset with that episode for a very long. They were very upset that I was not in that episode because I was the only one on the show who read the comics and knew anything about it.
Oh yeah, you couldn't give your foresight into it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I squeezed myself into the very end of that episode out of spite, but yeah, for years people were like, "I wish that Tony was in this because he actually like he read the
Right.
books and he
Yeah,
knows
you
what
got
they're
knowledge
about."
on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You Tony, I want to ask you, just reminded me about something that, again, maybe there are other fans that wonder about these kinds of things,
yeah,
and maybe I'm a weirdo.
yeah.
So again, you walk into a latter episode of the Steven Seagal episode, and you take a sip. Look, Tony, I have wanted to taste that Steven Seagal energy drink for a long
Yeah.
time. Did you? You legit took a swig of that
Yeah.
Cherry Charge, right?
Yeah, it was not good. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever tasted, but it was not good.
Can you
It was very
describe it?
it
Did it
was
taste
very
like an
if
energy
I
drink?
remember right, it was fruity, but like not in a good way. It was a little sour. It's
Ugh.
hard to recall because it was like 2 years ago,
I
but
know. Oh, I know.
but
I'm excited.
I thought it'd be fun because they were all trying it out. I'm like, I gotta try it out. So I like walked in. I'm like, oh, that's terrible. And then I just left.
Yeah. And Tony,
Yeah.
another thing, you're a really big Twin Peaks fan too, which I thought was
Yes.
interesting. Yeah.
Yes, I really, really like Twin Peaks, and I'm upset that my merch store still hasn't put up the Tony Peaks shirt with me looking like Laura
Laura
Palmer.
Palmer, yeah.
Yeah, I was selling that shirt and it did really well, and it got taken off it got taken off a Teespring because it said it expired, but I never set an expiration date. And we tried to put it back on. It's been this fight with Teespring. It's like this design was here for 2.5 years. Why is it suddenly gone? But yes, I really, really like Twin Peaks. I was introduced to it from a friend in college, and like just fell in love with it. And then of course they brought it back a few years ago, and that just kind of
Reignited everything.
reignited.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, love Twin Peaks. I plan to go to shit, where do they film that? Washington State at some point.
Uh-huh.
Actually, when I made the Tony Peak shirt, I sent a shirt to a fan first, even before I got it, because he lived in Washington State. And he's like, "Hey, I don't watch the show, but I drive by all the locations." And I'm like, "I'm sending you a shirt. I need you to take pictures of you wearing the shirt, looking miserable at all these locations." And that was the commercial I made for the shirt.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah, are you ever I apologize if you have. I wanna say you haven't.
Yeah.
Is Fire Walk with Me ever something that you're gonna try to cover on the show?
Ooh,
because it's a little weird to do a tie-in kind of thing, but I think
Yeah,
there's a
because I was
fan
thinking
base out there
I was
for the
thinking about
show.
that also with like the X-Files movie. I would kind of like want to talk about like the series first. Uh, but I mean, it's one of those like this isn't like a deal breaker, but I think Red Letter covered it really well. The movie and doing a brief recap of the show ahead of time. So I would have to do like I would want to talk about like season 1 and make that a whole episode. Then season 2 and make that a whole episode, then get into the movie. So yeah, it's something I'm thinking about. I might test out like reviewing seasons of like classic shows. But yeah, I'm always down to talk about Twin Peaks. I love Twin Peaks. I was, if you hunt for them, I was doing like these little vlog recaps of season 3 as they were coming out. But yeah, I might talk about it one day. I do like that movie.
Awesome. So, wrapping things up, getting back to the show now with Hack the Movies, which
Mhm.
again I think is it's awesome. I am a consistent watcher and viewer. I think
Thank
it's a
you.
great show. I'll watch every episode. There's one tiny thing I just want to comment on, Tony,
Yeah.
before we finish this. I'm sorry. I
No,
didn't
that's
write
fine.
this down. I didn't write this down in
That's
my
fine.
notes.
That's fine. That's fine.
I just want to comment that I think a lot of fans would even say sometimes as viewers will be so surprised when for instance, there was an episode of I believe it was either underrated horror, it might have been for rental reviews.
Yes.
You were the only, and this shocked me, Tony.
Mm.
You were the only guy in that room that had seen John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. I mean, even
Yes.
you as a big fan, don't you ever say to yourself, James, you haven't seen Prince of Darkness? Which I agree is in my
Yeah.
easily top 5 John Carpenter films.
Yeah. You know what? I don't blame him for that though, because the movie is I mean, it's pretty in terms of like John Carpenter movies, it is pretty obscure. They don't play it on TV a lot.
Yeah,
Uh
granted, it's not Halloween or The Thing. I get that, but I
yeah,
mean,
but
it's
no,
John Carpenter
it's not
still.
even like vampires. Like vampires will play on TV before Prince of Darkness does. Yeah, it's one of those like if you weren't looking for it, it'd be hard to find. I mentioned the thing, like I found it in college. It was playing on cable one day.
Mhm.
And that's how I caught it. But even me being a big John Carpenter fan and looking up all his stuff, that one just went under my radar for years. But yeah, I guess it's weird that James didn't see it, but he took my recommendation. And I think like a few weeks later, he's like, "Hey, by the way, I watched Prince of Darkness. It was really good."
Mhm.
Um,
It's a great movie, yeah.
yes, yes, yes. So I guess it was a little weird for him, but I don't find it totally unrealistic. Now, if I had said The Fog and everyone said, "Oh, I never heard of it," I'd be like, "All
Like,
right,
what the hell? Yeah.
no, no." But yeah, Prince of Darkness for John Carpenter, that's kind of an obscure one. It's
Yeah.
great though. It's great. I got the 4K Blu-ray recently.
It's
That's one of the
great.
few movies that like genuinely creeps me out. So
Yeah, and you hit the
it's
nail
fun.
on the head with that video footage stuff. I
Oh God,
legitimately thought my TV was something happened. I was like, "What the
right?
fuck is?"
It's like,
Yeah.
oh God, someone hijacked my signal and the world is ending. Oh my God. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
that the VHS stuff and that just because it just comes out so unannounced.
it's
It's
great.
not bro, it's just boom, you're there and you're like, what the fuck is this? And then it just
Yeah.
keeps happening. But yeah, that movie's a good fucking time.
And the funniest thing,
Yeah.
this is why you were one of my
Yeah.
favorites on the show. You say, so it's like there's this religious stuff going on, and then there's also scientists and there's green goo. This doesn't sound good, but just trust me.
Oh
When you're describing
yeah.
the movie, this doesn't sound good, but you gotta believe me, it's really good.
Yeah, I'm just like, all right, I know it sounds pretty stupid, but it works. There are movies like that where you're just like, all right, you explain the
Words
movie, and
get
you're like, all right, I know what I'm saying sounds like the dumbest movie ever made, but it actually works really, really well.
Oh man, yeah. So that was funny, but anyway, so
Yeah.
getting back to it now, like you said, you feel that Hack the Movies is what you truly had vision down the road when you were getting the show, all the kinks worked out, right? You're really
Yes,
happy
I
with
mean, I'm
everything.
back to reviewing movies with like friends, which is how the channel started many, many, many moons ago. But yeah, I'm feel like there was a period of time where the episodes were going a little too long. We were getting a little too sidetracked here and there. I don't mind going on side tangents and stuff, but they were going a little too long. But I feel like now, like the newer episodes, they're a little bit more focused. We still have the fun side tangents and stuff. We're experimenting a little bit. Like today's episode was the Phantom Menace. I don't know if you've watched that one
Not
yet.
yet. I haven't seen it yet.
All right. Well, spoiler. The whole joke is like everyone thinks Disney ruined Star Wars. And they're like, oh, it's just a way to sell toys and stuff now. And the whole joke of the episode is like, yes, so was Phantom Menace. Like you guys are purposely ignoring that George Lucas also did everything bad that Disney does. So the whole episode, every time we get to a new point in the movie, we just talk about stupid merchandise tied to that scene. And that's the entire
a lot of Taco Bell toys. Yeah.
Like if you go to the episode, if you go through the beginning of the episode, then the end, the what you call it, the countertop is just covered in Star Wars toys.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, so we're experimenting with stuff with that. We're doing more topic stuff now. Like we're doing we did the worst Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which did really well. People really like that. Then we did Best Dune. I'm gearing up to do worst Terminator movie. I'm not looking forward to it. I still haven't seen Dark Fate, and for a minute I was like, wow, I'm so happy I'll never have to see Terminator 6 and I'll be a happy person. And now I have to watch Terminator 6. I'm pretty miserable. That was the best feeling in the world. When I found out for rental reviews we weren't reviewing Dark Fate, I was like, oh, thank God. I'm like, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could do it again. After the last two, I'm like, nah, I'm out. I'm tapping out.
Yeah. So I want to commend you, Tony. I like the Alien 3 poster, and I know I'm a silent viewer. I don't comment a lot. I think the first time I commented was when you reviewed one of my favorite full moon. I believe it was Empire, or it was Charlie Band when y'all did Trancers.
Trancers, yes.
Such a big Trancers fan. I thought that was like, okay.
I'm discovering the series. We just did like a month or two ago. I did Trancers 2 on Patreon. I have all the VHS tapes, so like I still haven't like I want to watch them and then review them. So I got to get Joe back in studio to do the third one. I'm excited to go through that whole series. Trancers is one I just found on accident, or by accident, and I was just like, this is phenomenal. And then I watched Trancers 2 with Joe, and I'm like, this is the best sequel I've ever seen.
Charlie got some money for that one. It's great. And Tim Thomerson is like a Tom Atkins equivalent, just like a middle-aged bad motherfucker.
Yeah, it is. I can't believe that's one of those things where it just flew under my radar for years. I'm like, this is amazing. It makes no sense, but it's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously, but anyway, I was going to say too was obviously I am so looking forward to the inevitable Alien 3 episode because Tony, I mean, I myself am a massive Alien 3 fan.
Okay.
So I'm really excited. And I love that you put that gorgeous poster in the Hack the Movies video store.
It's a beautiful poster. I love that poster. And there's a little, if you can tell, there's a little Alien 3 shelf underneath of it.
Yeah, I'm always looking in the background at like the Street Fighter. You know, you had like a 4-inch Street Fighter steelbook, and then HD DVDs of Army of Darkness and things like
it's
that.
changed now. I think because I just got rid of a lot of stuff, and I wanted to put more stuff that kind of reflected the new show. I know Justin took a lot of his stuff off the set, so that's why like Mac and Me and whatnot is gone. It was time to retire the Mac.
It was time to retire Mac and Me. Alien 3 is a much cooler pick.
Yeah, and I love it. Just like I just love that poster. That poster is a really nice logo and everything. So I just think it looks cooler anyway. But yeah, the set is always evolving and changing. One day it'll look very different. I mean, same idea. When we inevitably move to another studio, and I keep joking. I want to make fun of like if you ever watch the X-Files?
No, not in a very long time.
Okay, I want to do like something that they did on that show when they moved from Vancouver to filming in Los Angeles. They did a thing where like at the end of the last season in Vancouver, the final episode, someone burnt down the X-Files office, and then when the next season started, it's like, oh, they rebuilt they rebuilt the X-Files office, and it's slightly bigger and more spacious. Or like make fun of like how like, you know, the Power Rangers movie, the command center. I'm like, wow, this place is a lot roomier than it usually is.
Yeah. Oh man. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
What's our time frame on that, you think?
Oh God, I couldn't give you a definitive one on that. I'm still waiting to find that out myself. Okay. I'm excited for it though. But yeah, I got some really cool stuff, cool episodes coming up. Let me see which ones I'm allowed to talk about. So this could be fun. Pull up my calendar here. Yes, we got X-Men coming up. We're revisiting because people really liked our Spider-Man reviews. So we're like, well, we got to do X-Men now.
Sure,
I'm gonna do Private Parts, the Howard Stern movie, with Carl from
God.
Carl from Who Are These Podcasts. I don't know if you listen to Who Are These Podcasts, but that is a great show. They just review podcasts and just mercilessly mock them for how bad they are.
Oh God, I've got to hear this.
They are like, I tell everyone, I'm just like, if you're starting a podcast, listen to the show to learn what not to do.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we got Aliens coming up, and then there's another Friday the 13th on its way, so we'll be doing the next 3 Friday the 13th movies in our list. Yeah, and then next month we've got Alien 3. It's the not next month, May. Alien 3 for the 30th anniversary. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I remember you said you're gonna. People are like, you're like, stop asking me about it. We're doing it on the anniversary, damn it.
Yeah. Well, that's like what people always say. Like, are you gonna do the next 3 Friday the 13th? And it's like we said when there's another Friday the 13th coming around, we will do one.
Now, Tony, correct me. Are you guys wrapping up the Paramounts on this one? Is it 7?
Yes, we're doing 7, 8, and Goes to Hell.
Goes to Hell. Oh, that'll be fun, man.
Yeah, that should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then yeah, I might change that one. But yeah, we got a lot of things on the way. I got to change some of this calendar because Hollywood moved their movies around again. I don't think The Flash is ever coming out. I'm going to put money on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got for you now.
Well, that's great, man. And one of the last things I wanted to say to you was, I don't want to make comparisons at all, but when I watched, Lloyd Kaufman on Cinemassacre, then I watched Lloyd Kaufman on Hack the Movies. I got to say, far and away, the Hack the Movies Lloyd Kaufman episode is one of the most entertaining. I mean, you guys really talked about, you guys really went deep with the trauma catalog and stuff. I mean, I could have
went deeper if I had more time, but yeah,
you did a remarkable
well, it's not a
job.
contest. But
I know.
yeah,
I'm just saying, as a trauma fan, it's no question. I mean, you talked about a lot of his catalog, which I thought Mother's Day. I mean, it was beautiful. I just thought that was one of my favorite episodes that you've done. And having guests like that, is that something you're potentially looking at doing maybe more down the future?
I'd love to have more guests. I mean, I know a while back we had the Blue Meanie on an episode.
Right, Blue Meanie.
Yeah, we did No Holds Barred. I love that I'm like friends with the Blue Meanie now. He drunk texted me at 2 a.m. asking me to retweet something, and he's like, "Hey, sorry for the drunk text." I'm like, "No, I've always wanted to be drunk texted by the Blue Meanie before."
By the Blue Meanie.
Yeah. Yeah, and then a while back we had a filmmaker, Fred Olin Ray. There's a bunch of people I would love to get on, and like I said, now with the lockdown ending or like restrictions being lifted here and there, I think it's going to be more of a possibility. But yeah, I just got to see who I can get my hands on, who's willing to do the show. Yeah.
Well, awesome, man. I just want to say, to wrap it up, dude, honestly, Hack the Movies it's the real deal. I love the show.
Thank you.
I think a lot of people do, even the cynical people that hated everybody that was ever on Cinemassacre because it's just not James. I think even those people, can't deny Hack the Movies is great.
Yeah, I've had a few people. I mean, there's always people that are just gonna hate me no matter what. But I had a few people who were like, "Hey, I really didn't like you on Rental Reviews, but I gave this show a shot, and it's like actually really entertaining." I guess I'm more myself on my show because it's my channel, so I can like relax a little bit. I don't know.
I think I certainly think it shows that you can spread your wings and have a great time. It's great. I mean, seriously, I'm not bullshitting. And I love the fact that you give the listeners the availability to just listen to the audio on Spotify and all that. Was that something that you always intended, or were you like, hey, this is a mostly audio? I mean, it's an audio show as well.
Yeah, no, I had always wanted to do the podcast feed. I really wanted us to get our audio figured out first. And actually that was like, we were going to do that for Rental Reviews at one point, and we just never got around to it. But yeah, I wanted to get like the mic stands first and the really nice mics. I mean, the older episodes are podcast form now. But yeah, I think I want to say Mighty Ducks was the first time we released it on, like, we made it public that we were doing the podcast feed. Because I think that's important. A lot of people were telling me, like, yeah, I like just putting this on in the background. I'm like, this should just be a podcast feed too. Because people like listening to it in the car. I know it's a very visual show a lot of times, especially with the skits and whatnot. Like, if you're like, I apologize in the Phantom Menace review. I'm like, I'm sorry if you're listening to this. It's probably terrible. You might want to watch this episode. And of course, if you're listening to the show, you're gonna miss the wonderful stunts we do of these. We hire just Hollywood's top stuntmen to jump into the studio. We definitely don't use a horrible dummy dressed as Spider-Man. Someone was mad at me the bit that we do with the dummies coming in every time I invite an actor. Someone's like, this bit's getting old. I'm like, this bit worked for Married with Children for 10 years. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. This bit's great. It'll never die.
That's right.
We just did 2 more of those dummy bits in episodes coming up.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
You know, well, we kind of, I was going to say, to wrap it up, I was going to say, what do we have coming down the pike? But we talked about it. You know, a lot of cool stuff. We got I know, as a big horror fan, I love the Friday the 13th episode. So can't wait for that. But Tony, man, I just want to say again, big fan, and I thank you for giving me your time, man, and talking about the work you do behind the scenes and hack the movies and all that, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Yep, and everybody listen, I hope you enjoyed this. Obviously, if you have not checked out Hack the Movies, please, I mean, you'll love it, especially if you just love long form entertainment, talking about all kinds of movies with great comedy skits from the famous. Is it Famous and Powerful or Famous
and Important?
Famous and Important Tony from Hack the Movies. So thank you guys for listening. We love you, and we'll see you next time.